So we've got a bunch of the people getting started with their off-season training. They're athletes, they're whatever, student athletes. Some of them are older. Maybe you're getting ready for a golf season. Maybe you're getting ready for summer tennis, or maybe you're getting ready for like your fall sports season for college. Maybe you're a coach that wants to make sure that you can do the stuff that your athletes are doing because you need to be able to demo the exercise, or you need to be able to kind of like get a little bit of like street credit, so to speak, to show them you can still go in there and squat 600 pounds or whatever the story is. The bottom line is, at this point, most of the people are back home training and getting ready for whatever's coming up next, if they're in college or in high school. If you're out and you're one of those other athletes, then you're already where your home gym is anyway. The main thing is, make sure that you pick things that you can do and do well in that environment, just like we've been talking a lot about lately. Make sure that you're going to address your issues as it relates to like your movement patterns and some of your repetitive movements, so that you understand what your need is. Like what is the duration that you need to be prepared to perform. So if it was soccer, you know what the typical time and duration is and intensity level is. So we have a lot of people that go out and do things that don't make any sense. And I'm not trying to throw people under the bus here, but if you're trying to, like for instance, if you're trying to get ready for soccer, there is an appropriateness to go out and do some distance running. That's okay to kind of recover and stuff like that. And you need to be able to train at a certain level for a certain period of time. But soccer isn't a casual jog. And it's also not a high intensity run for an entire marathon. It's a lot of short stops and starts, and it's not linear. And so if you're just gonna, team run, like that's great. Unfortunately, that can't be the base, and you wanna try to integrate whatever you're doing into the sport as much as you possibly can, specifically if it's the conditioning and or the speed and agility training. So incorporate the ball, incorporate whatever else that you have that is an apparatus or device within the sport, and try to use the same framework or the same context to make sure that it's a good translation. So it's got to be able to transform whatever you're doing, strength, speed, or agility wise, transform that into the sport. And if it doesn't transform or transfer well, then maybe you should pick something better. And we talked about energy systems a little bit. Just like when you're eating and you're making sure that you're addressing different energy systems with the food that you're eating. You don't eat the same way every day if you have a different energy need. So you don't train the same way for every sport, for every position. And every position, it's even different within that position, because let's say, for instance, you have two wrestlers and they both wrestle, let's say they both wrestle 197 in college. Well, they're gonna have different styles and different needs, and although they both wrestle for 7 minutes, they might not have the exact same requirements for success. Meaning somebody might be a little bit more explosive, somebody might be a little bit more of a stamina person. So someone might be more high intensity, someone might be more moderate. So understanding what the person does, how they perform, what their outputs are, is very important. And again, like when you talk about like what's somebody's skill set, what are they known for, what do you have them on your team for, and do your best to raise that which they already do well, but also be aware of like, okay, if they do this all the time, what's gonna wear out? You know, if you like to drive fast, then you're gonna have to brake also. So if you're driving really fast, then you're probably gonna wear out your brakes a little bit. So it's important to make sure that you address these things, because if you don't address them, they'll kind of address themselves. Like eventually you'll have to replace the brakes. You might have to replace the entire braking system, which would mean all of a sudden now we're looking at an MCL, we're looking at an ACL, maybe we're looking at some like movement pattern distortions at the hip or something else like that, maybe lower back. Maybe all of a sudden now you gotta really be checking out your spine because like there's some contralateral stuff going on. Anyways, the bottom line is all of these things you have to take into account. Don't just look at, like if you're a strength coach or if you're a coach or if you're working with a group, maybe you're at a high school, maybe you don't necessarily have the specific training that you need or the time to look into everything individually, you can get some of your student athletes to do some of the work as well. Like, make sure that they understand what they do really well. What do they not do as well? What were some of their vulnerabilities? What were some of the ways that they were beat the previous season? You know, make sure that they understand their statistics, okay? What did they win at that most? What did they lose at the most? What were their conversions? Give them some trackables that they can look at. Then what are some things that they can do in the weight room or when they're working on their speed or agility and they're out there to really be able to track and keep an awareness or kind of a GPS, so to speak, as to where they are with accomplishing their goals. If they have something that really is going to dramatically impact their greatest strength, then tracking that, knowing where they are with that, then will impact them on the field. Not just physically, but it's going to impact them mentally and emotionally, because they're going to have greater confidence and awareness that their skill or their productivity level is going to have gone up because they built up the potential to actually be even more powerful at this particular thing or more sustainable at it. So it's really important when we're looking at the development that we look at the holistic athlete, that we also address the individual needs, address like health histories and different things like that. You don't have to be a doctor to be aware, like, hey, if somebody has some issues in their family that then translated to them, they're gonna have to, be able to actually try to prepare a little bit differently than maybe the next person. If somebody has diabetes in their family, or if they have heart conditions in their family, or whatever the situation, there's a lot of different things that you're gonna have to address needs-wise that are gonna change. So make sure that you're aware of that, and then make sure that you try to do your best to check in with the person and see how they're doing with the different things that they're doing. And then make sure that each person feels like they have a little bit of input too. You might be using some of the great training packages that are out there now, and companies that they'll give you like, here's what you could do for your entire program, for your entire school. And they're pretty good, generally speaking, but they're not specific and they don't account for the individual. So you have to go in and kind of tweak things a little bit. Don't just think, oh, okay, well, we got this from a great company and it's gonna be the best it can be. It's gonna be better than doing the wrong thing, but it's not gonna be doing necessarily all the right things. And if somebody has an injury, then they're probably not even cleared to end up doing the entire program anyway. So it's really important to check in on those things. And then again, recovery. If you're a quarterback, we gotta look at like shoulder, elbow, and wrist stuff. We gotta look at lower back stuff. We gotta make sure that you're doing things on a daily basis that is stretching one side of your body here, not necessarily the other side of your body. You can do like a holistic program, but at the same time, you have to do some specific stuff too, because there's a specificity of what you're doing on the field, and so there needs to be that same specificity to what you're actually doing with your training as well. So, and it needs to be trackable, and it needs to be something that you touch base with. So like, did it feel bad before? Is it feeling bad now, or is it feeling really good? How's your shoulder feeling after we did this many throws today? How does it feel tomorrow? How's the elbow? How's the lower back? How's the wrist? What did you do to keep yourself there? What kind of rest were you getting? Are you using other monitoring devices? So are you using like a Whoop watch, or using a Fitbit or something along those lines to track what your recovery is, what your HRV is, all those other things? There's so many different things you can track. Are you tracking blood sugar? Some people track that. That's another thing that if you can keep steady is very helpful, because you're gonna know you're gonna be able to get a pretty good output on a workout, or you're gonna be able to recover at the level that you wanna recover. So, keeping track of that nutrition, your rest, and then the other stresses in life too. So make sure that you address too the mental and emotional side of the training, and make sure that they're aware of what they're trying to accomplish every workout day, and that they set goals. So hopefully this was helpful. Maybe it was a little bit too much. I try to keep it under 10 minutes, and hopefully you can put in place some of that stuff today. Good luck.